Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm Brad. I haven't showered in 2 days. Will today be the day? Let's talk about the game.
Elbow, forearm, he's going to be down.
The result of the play is a touchdown.
And then the flag that was thrown on this was picked up.
I don't know, did it get the face mask?
So by rule, the game is over.
The Lions Hangover.
All right, thanks for joining me on the Lions Hangover podcast. Don't forget to find me on all social medias, and please smash that like button and subscribe button. That was pretty good, wasn't it? Yeah. Anyway, tell your friends. Don't forget, you can also find me on Spotify if you're looking at my pretty face. And if the only thing you're doing right now is hearing this sexy voice, you can also see this pretty face on YouTube. So, viewer discretion is advised, though. Sometimes I'm too hot, for the camera. But we're not here to talk about my vanity issues. We are here to talk about the Detroit Lions getting destroyed by the Carolina Panthers yesterday, Christmas Eve, with a score of 37-23. It was a disappointing game, disappointing loss. Of course, the Lions really could have used it, but they're not completely eliminated from the playoffs yet. I believe their chances are down to 25% of making the playoffs. I did see something today where if they win out and they finish the season at 9-8, their playoff chances will be 75% that they'll make the playoffs. So that's something to be optimistic about. But let's get into the game. I know it was cold in Carolina, and I've seen a lot of reports that the players were complaining about the field and how hard the turf was, and it was like playing on concrete. I got to say, I don't care. Like, you can't have excuses when there's two teams out there. Carolina had no problem running the ball. They had no problem stopping the run. They had no problem passing. I mean, Darnold didn't kill us, but he played fairly well. Now, I know Jared Goff statistically played well. It still wasn't an overly exciting game for what his stats look like. You would think that it was a better game, but it wasn't close at all. And some of that is because of the defense. Lions could get nothing established on the ground. Their leading rusher today yesterday, I guess I should say, was Jared Goff. They only ran the ball 17 times, and that's because they were playing from behind most of the game. Jared Goff had that fumble when they were in position to score. They were in the red zone, and he fumbled. I don't know if you want to say it was his fault or maybe Ragnow's fault or maybe the fact that Jared Goff was wearing gloves. Either way, the snap was mishandled, and it was a fumble, and Carolina went right down and scored. With Jared Goff being the leading rusher, though, he did have 3 carries for 15 yards, 5 yards a carry. DeAndre Swift only ran the ball 4 times, and Jamal Williams ran the ball 7 times for 11 yards. I got to say, this was, for as much credit as Ben Johnson gets, this was a very unimaginative game. Not a whole lot went right, so you have to think that the scheme was wrong, the game plan was wrong. A lot of times, Lions had no clue what they were doing. At least it looked like they had no clue of what they were doing. They could get nothing going. DJ Chark was the leading receiver as far as yards go. He finished with 108 yards on 4 catches, the longest being 51 yards, which, hey, good for Jared Goff. He threw that thing all in the air, and it was kind of a crazy throw. It was like, it wasn't a bad throw. I'm not sure he should have thrown it. He caught it, so it worked out, of course. But it was like he was well covered, and I can't even say it was a great catch. It was just like the ball hit DJ Chark right like in the neck area, and he just caught it. Like the ball just was seeking him out, and it just landed right on his chest area. So it was sweet. Like, it was exciting, and it was early enough in the game where you're like, all right, this is a good sign for things to come, until that fumble. Once that fumble happened, I don't want to say it took the Lions out of it, because Carolina was already running all over the Lions on that. I think that was the Lions' second drive, right? It was 7-7 at that time. And the Lions were in position to take the lead. But yeah, once that fumble happened, it was like the offense sputtered for a little bit after that. It took them a while to get their wheels back. The defense just continued to not show up. So let's talk about more offensive stats. Amon-Ra St. Brown finished with 7 receptions. He was the leading receiver as far as receptions go for only 76 yards, 0 touchdowns. And then you also have to talk about Shane Zylstra, who caught the ball 5 times, and he had 3 touchdowns, which was pretty amazing. So he was the leading receiver if you want to go by touchdowns. So it's life is about variety. Jameson Williams continues to not be involved. They continue to not unleash him. They continue to monitor his snap count. He's not out there every single play. Not only do they need to get him more involved, they need to figure out a way to include him and include Amon-Ra St. Brown and include DJ Chark. It seems like for the most part, St. Brown gets his catches, and then it's like you forget about DJ Chark, or DJ Chark will get, his yardage, and then you can see that it affects St. Brown, because St. Brown was getting like 10 or 11 catches, and 100 yards a game and stuff. And just there was 355 yards of passing today. So you can't say Jared Goff isn't spreading the ball around. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different people caught the ball today. But it's like you got to get the ball to your playmakers. And that is DJ Chark. That is Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that should be Jameson Williams. And if you want to throw DeAndre Swift in there as well, like he's one of your playmakers. And then you lean on the other guys when the playmakers aren't showing up. But you got to get these guys more involved in a more critical pass attack scheme. Defensively, like I said, there's no real bright spots on the defense. Hutchinson had a quiet game. Okudah had a quiet game. Kirby Joseph had a quiet game. Ifeatu Melifonwu, he was the team's leading tackler with 8 tackles, 7 solos, 1 tackle for loss. But listen to these top 3. Melifonwu, Joseph, and Okudah. That's your secondary, and your secondary led your team with 21 tackles. Your secondary had 21 tackles. That was the largest group. It's not good when your secondary leads your team in tackles. And you saw that yesterday with all the rushing. They had over 200 yards rushing, Carolina did, in the first half, and it was just an ugly game overall. Badgley had 1 field goal for 34 yards. He made both of his extra points. He did what he had to do. It didn't really come down to him, though. And Jack Fox had 4 punts with an average of 51 yards, and he hit long of 54 yards, and he pinned him inside the 20 twice, which that's good. So let's talk about how bad the defense was, because now we're just going to go over Carolina's stat pack. Oh, if you want to know, statistically, Jared Goff went 25 of 42, so and for 355 yards. The average was 8.5 yards per throw. He had 3 touchdowns, all of them, like I said, to Shane Zylstra. His quarterback rating was 110.7. So let's compare it to Sam Darnold. 15 of 22. He only missed 7 receptions today. It was pretty easy for him. There was no pressure on him whatsoever. He recorded no sacks. Goff was sacked twice. His quarterback rating was a 121.4. So he did what he had to do. He didn't kill us. What did kill us, though, was Deonta Foreman, who ran the ball 21 times for 165 yards, and Chuba Hubbard, who ran the ball 12 times for 125 yards. Sam Darnold also had 6 rushes for 19 yards and a touchdown, and Raheem Blackshear ran the ball 3 times for 3 yards with a touchdown. So he's obviously the short yardage guy. DJ Moore, 5 receptions, 83 yards, 1 touchdown. It seemed like I spoke about this a little bit last week if you guys watched the show. As disappointing as this is, it was I don't want to make excuses for Lions, but it was bound to happen, right? It is hard to win 7 out of 8 games. Teams just don't do it. How many teams started off the season 7-1? Like 3, maybe 4 out of 32. So it's rare. No matter who you're playing, it takes a lot to stay focused. It takes a lot to be prepared. And maybe something like the weather is just that small little factor that throws people off their game. So it's and I really hate making excuses because Carolina played on the same field. They played in the same weather. The sun was shining. What else do you want? It was cold and miserable here and windy and kind of snowy, depending on where you're at. There was a lot of snow. But overall, just not a good game. And it's like they talked about it all week. Jared Goff hasn't been sacked in 2 or 3 games. He hasn't had a turnover in like 6 games. All of these things are mounting, and it's like you can't beat the statistics. You are due to come up to have kind of a bad game, and that was that was the game against the Carolina Panthers on Christmas Eve because Jared Goff had a fumble, he had a turnover, he turned the ball over. That streak is over. James Houston, this is his first NFL game without a sack, which sounds crazy. So he's played 5 games, he has 5 sacks now. So Hutchinson didn't have a sack, didn't have any pressure. It looked like he kind of resorted to some of his early season play where he was maybe over pursuing or playing the wrong angles on a running back or the quarterback. It wasn't a good game all around for anybody. Okuda didn't look that great. A lot of the catches by Moore and Marshall, there was a couple yards in between each defender. I don't want to talk about the officiating. I don't think the officiating made a difference in the game. Not much. Anyway, not enough for us to be like, oh, the ref screwed us. Besides the point, you put yourself in a position the refs won't decide who wins the game. So you just got to play through it. But yeah, anyway, all of those things are due to happen. And luckily, they all happened at once. So hopefully we can start a new win streak. And honestly, we had a 3-game win streak. We lost to Buffalo. We had a 3-game win streak. We lost to Carolina yesterday. I would take another 3-game win streak right now because that would be Chicago, that would be Green Bay, and that would more than likely be Minnesota. First round of the playoffs. I would take all 3 of those right now. So if this is the pattern we're doing, we go 9-3, and we lose in the second round of the playoffs. I don't think, Super Bowl or bust, that would be sweet. But honestly, if you make the playoffs, I can't say there's one person that is a Lions fan that would be upset with the season. There's a lot of people, even though this was a loss, there's a lot of people that are content with the season now. I think overall you could call it a good season. They're definitely going to get one more win. I better not be jinxing them right now. I'll knock on wood. There, just knocked on wood. We're good. But yeah, these things were all due to happen, and thankfully we got our clunker out of the way. So now we can gear up for another 3-game win streak, or a 4 or 5-game win streak. Let's see how that goes. But next week we have the Chicago Bears. The Bears got destroyed. They play the Bears on New Year's Day. The Bears got destroyed though by the Buffalo Bills, 35-13. So if you guys remember, we beat the Bears by 1 point when we played them the first time in Chicago. I'm not expecting it to be close at all. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The Lions are going to win. I will guarantee a victory. This is a hangover guarantee. It'll be a good game. The Bears are 3-12 currently. But I do want to do some scouting on them because we're going to have a problem. Justin Fields went 15 of 23 for 119 yards yesterday with a touchdown. He was sacked twice. His quarterback rating was 92, so that's a pretty solid day. Here's why Buffalo destroyed them. Justin Fields, 7 carries, 11 yards. They were able to contain him. They were able to shut him down, okay? I know we sort of make fun of Justin Fields about not being a thrower. He's more of a rusher. That's the general consensus of his skill set. But he's not actually a horrible thrower. It's just not his strong point. He can throw the ball. 15 out of 23, that's a high percentage, You're only missing 8 passes out of that. That's pretty good. But you can beat him. You can beat him. If the Lions can contain Justin Fields like Buffalo did, the Lions will beat Chicago like the Buffalo Bills did, 35-13. I would consider it to be a very similar game if The Lions can contain Justin Fields. This is a scrambling quarterback. This is the Lions' Achilles heel. This is their weakness. If you want to destroy the Lions' guaranteed victory, you have to have a mobile quarterback. If you don't have a mobile quarterback, the Lions can hang with you. They can. We've hung with every single team. And the part that kills us is the mobile quarterback. So, of course, you have David Montgomery. He carried the ball 16 times for 62 yards. It's a modest day. It's not threatening. But it reminds me a lot of the two guys that we just played, Hubbard and Foreman. And you still have to take care of the run game. Shut the running back down. Contain Justin Fields. That's the key. If you are forcing Justin Fields to beat you with his arm, he will not beat you. He will complete some passes. He will. It's like when we beat Minnesota. We were in charge that entire game. Justin Jefferson had 200 yards. You can allow Byron Pringle, Cole Kmet, Velius Jones Jr. You can allow those guys to get 200 yards. You can and still destroy. Justin Fields will not kill you with his arm. He will kill you with his running ability. If you can keep him from scoring, from getting 50, 60, 70 yards on the ground, we're going to win this game. That's all you have to do. So he was sacked twice. The Lions' defensive line, we're going to be at home. There's going to be no excuses for the turf, okay? The place is going to be crazy. It's the last home game of the year. It is on New Year's Day. So as long as everybody's not hungover from New Year's Eve, it is going to be a fantastic day. It's going to be a fantastic game. The Lions need to win. The Bears don't need to. The Lions better come out fired up, motivated, ready to go, ready to kill, right? They have to take care of the Bears. And then it's on to Green Bay a week later. TBD. They don't even know what time the game is going to be. It is going to be flexed. You have to believe it's going to be a primetime game. These are going to be two teams. TV loves Aaron Rodgers. TV loves the Green Bay Packers. And it is a good story. Winner gets into the playoffs. That's how it's likely going to roll out, that scenario. Yeah. Man, I feel like I've just rambled and jumped all over the place, but that's how it's going to be. I don't really want to talk about Green Bay right now. They did win today. Miami put up a stinker. They play Minnesota next week. Minnesota can beat Green Bay. It would be great if somebody else did our work for us, but regardless, the Lions have to win out if they think they have a shot at the playoffs. They can win out, but they can't put up a game like they did yesterday in Carolina, no matter the excuses, because guess what? The frozen tundra is going to be frozen in January. It's highly unlikely. I know 50 degrees is coming this weekend for us, but it's highly unlikely that it's going to be 50 degrees in Green Bay in 2 weeks. So it's going to be frozen. It's going to be frozen tundra. That's why they call it the frozen tundra. It is going to be a rock-hard ground. Learn to play on it. Figure it out. You need to. But that's enough about Green Bay. I don't care. We'll talk about Green Bay the second half of next show. Other than that, I'm kind of down because it's a loss, but, overall, it's still been a good season. I do have to call out the same old Lions fans. Stop it. Every team loses, and just because one team has a reputation, this was not a same old Lions loss. Like, the same old Lions loss is the field goal on from Justin Tucker, like last year. The same old Lions is getting destroyed by the refs when they call an invisible face mask call against Aaron Rodgers. That is same old Lions. That is that mentality. And for you to keep thinking every time the Lions lose, you have to call them the same old Lions, that's just stupid, because every team loses. There's been two teams in 55 years that have gone undefeated. 50 years, actually, right? It was 1972 Dolphins and the 20-something Patriots. Two teams have gone undefeated. Every team loses. It's not like you say, oh, the same old Dolphins or, oh, the same old Bears. Like, no. Like, it's just stupid. It kills me. Maybe you guys think you're being funny. Some people. I don't know. It's not the same old Lions. Anyway, that's my little rant on the same old Lions. But it's happy time now. It's Christmas. I hope you guys are being safe, and thanks for watching, subscribing, telling your friends about me. I'm going to go, oh, wait, no, don't go yet. Almost forgot. We got to do something cool. Let's do game aspirins, right? everybody's got to take their pill, especially after a loss. So, game aspirin. Well, the first one's obviously going to be Shane Zylstra. His 3 touchdowns, even though the last one was kind of garbage time touchdown. The first one was critical. The second one was, hey, keeping us in the game. And the third one is, just piling on. So he had 3 touchdowns. Good for him. Next, game aspirin, I'm going to throw to Jared Goff, who doesn't light my fire, but statistically he had a great game, and he's not the reason we lost. So he gets the second game aspirin. And the third game aspirin I would give to DJ Shark. Shark. I'm going to say Chark because it's a CH, and you make a ch sound with that. For his 4 receptions, 108 yards, and his longest being 51 yards. So those are my 3 game aspirin guys. If you feel left out, Detroit Lions, and you're like, oh, I wanted a game aspirin, play harder, and you'll get a game aspirin next week. I do have to give kudos to Khalif Raymond. Last week, he should have got a game aspirin, and I forgot. So I'm sorry, Khalif, not that you watch my show, but, just want you to know, I recognize your efforts, and you're the man. So, all right, Merry Christmas, everybody. I will speak to you next week on New Year's Day after the Lions beat the Chicago Bears.